everybody. How you doing?
Testing. Can you hear me?
You can do a little bit better than that. He sang one of the best songs ever. Thank you.
Yes.
Give it up for Ray Parker Jr., everyone.
Thank you.
Ray, how you doing?
Real good. I cannot complain. This has been wonderful. It's my first trip to Scotland, by the way. So I had no idea what to expect. The people are so wonderful. And every time I walk to a restaurant, I've been walking all over town, it does not rain when I'm walking. Not when I'm in the restaurant, I see the rain outside, but it doesn't rain when I'm out walking around. So.
I need to walk with you.
Yes.
So have you been looking for any ghosts around Edinburgh Castle? Now, that is the main question.
I didn't see any ghosts at the castle. If I did, I would have ran, because I am afraid of ghosts, really. Yes.
So we all know
I'm afraid of the dark. I'm afraid.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know why my biggest song is about ghosts, because I'm scared of the ghosts.
That's quite interesting. So how did you feel when the opportunity came up to write this song, like to get involved?
I thought that was a little ridiculous for me to be singing about a ghost. About that. But they offered me some money. And it was a little bit of a sellout, I guess you could say. But it's interesting. In the music business, the money is only gets you to the table. You make the music because you love to make music, And so it's like if someone said to me right now, go lock yourself in that room and write a song. No matter what you paid me, it would be the same song, because I like to play music, so I would do my best. The trick is, can you get me into the room and lock the door and make me work? So that's what it's all about, is getting the musician into the right place at the right time,
So how did the opportunity come about? Talk us through, because it is the best theme song ever, right?
Well, thank you, yeah. The opportunity came about. I had 7 gold and platinum albums on myself before Ghostbusters, so I had a long history of concerts and hits, and a lot of success in this area. I wrote a lot of songs for Chaka Khan and Barry White and different artists. And the Ghostbuster crew, they liked my other songs. So they said, well, he's the right guy, we think, who can do this. And they wanted the words Ghostbusters in the actual song. And it's not fair now because you guys have heard the song, but it doesn't sing very well. Ghostbusters, I want to be a Ghostbuster. It really is a terrible word to sing. So the best concept of the song for me was there's a spot of the movie where they had the phone number under the Ghostbusters. And I thought, wow, that's an opportunity. I'm just going to say, who you going to call? And I'll never say Ghostbusters. I'll let the audience say Ghostbusters, because they're not really in the record musically, So it sounds like a crowd is outside listening to the music. And that way I got away with the word Ghostbusters, because it sings terribly. It's not a good word to sing.
That's brilliant. Just thinking of a way that you could cheat it. And it is brilliant. Like if you're ever in a Halloween, if you're ever at a Halloween party or something like that, and it comes on, everybody like my age goes, absolutely. That's extremely late 20s, by the way. Yeah. Everybody goes absolutely nuts.
I like that, extremely late 20s.
36.
Use that.
It's, I remember it the first time round.
Yeah.
And it is brilliant. And my little girl is 14 months old, and one of her best friends is called Tristan, and he is nearly 3. And the proudest moment from his parents was when they taught him, who are you going to call, Tristan?
Yeah.
He goes, Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
How does that feel for you, that people are teaching? I mean, they're real geeks.
It's my favorite song, by the way.
Is it?
Yeah, people always say, are you tired of people coming up to you saying, I ain't afraid of no ghosts? No, I'm not. I'm really not. Out of all the songs I've ever had, some people remember. Some just get older, and they're just old songs. But this one song, Ghostbusters, never gets old. I mean, there's a new group of kids, 3 to 5, 7 years old. They all know the song. And the best part of the movie is not only was I my own kids' heroes, right, which makes it wonderful, but everyone is always happy. And so for me to walk around, unlike the dentist or the doctor or somebody, every time somebody sees me, they're smiling and they're happy. So it makes me happy to see that everybody else is happy. So that makes it my favorite song.
you do just get like this, don't you? Like when you hear it. I was rewatching it the other night, and I was just sat there, and it just started playing. I could just feel myself going like this. And my husband's like... And then it said, who are you going to call? And I was like, Ghostbusters, yes. And he's just like, what are you doing? But I love the fact that it releases the inner child. And the film, I mean, the cast who are in it are phenomenal. And you know, how many years later, people are still watching it, people are still singing it. I've seen bands covering it.
By the way, nobody knew it was going to take off like that. I mean, you know, we just thought, well, nice little film. It's going to be cute. We thought it was good, you know. But no one knew that it was going to be like a cult following or just, you know, last this many years. And for me, I know my part, I thought I was a genius when I just came up with Who You Gonna Call, and I didn't have to say Ghostbusters. I was like, as soon as I figured that out, I was like, oh, I'm on to something now. You can't sing it. That's why, because, you know, they hired people like a year or so ahead of time. A bunch of famous people to write the song, you know, to the movie, and they didn't like anything. And I was like, oh, I see what's wrong here. They want that word Ghostbusters in the music. That's what's wrong, you know. And so once I took that out of the song, that's when it happened. Now, the rest of it was just some real stuff. Like the guy said, well, Mr. Parker, are you afraid of... I ain't afraid of no ghosts, you know. That's just what I would say if I was walking down the street in Detroit. I ain't afraid of no ghosts. So that part was easier. Then there's the mischievous part, I call it. Busting makes me feel good. You know, that could be taken several different ways, you know. Whatever turns you on, you know. But that part was probably more me than anything else, you know. That's, you know, I thought about it because, you know, all my songs, all my records were romantic songs to women, you know. And all of a sudden, I'm singing to a ghost. I said, well, we got to have something here, you know. Something's got to go back to the original Ray, you know. So that part kind of takes me back home.
So when you're actually starting off writing, let it be for movie or let it be for Barry, like one of the greatest singers. My mum is like totally in love with him. And
great,
she absolutely loves his stuff.
Yeah.
So what is actually the process for you to actually think, okay, how am I going to start this? What do you start with the lyrics? Do you start with the music? Do you mix it?
Well, first of all, I'm a guitar player, and that's what I've done all my life. Some of you don't even know this, but everything that I do stems off of playing the guitar. So if I write a song, that's off of playing the guitar. Or if I sing, I never even thought I could sing till I first played the guitar. Then I tried to sing on top of playing the guitar. So everything starts with the guitar. And I was probably self-sufficient at playing the guitar at like 14 years old. I was taking care of myself. And I was playing in a band called the Spinners, which was a popular group back then. And Marvin Gaye was one of the people I played with. I played on the Stevie Wonder Talking Book album and a lot of the jazz records, Herbie Hancock and stuff like that. And my big chance to go on tour, I went on tour with the Rolling Stones when I was 18 years old. So that's where my stuff starts. Then from there, we go into the other stuff.
What was it like touring with the Rolling Stones?
It was very mischievous.
Yeah. Can you tell us any stories?
No. No, there's kids here. But, well, there's some clean stories. I mean, in New York, it was Mick Jagger's birthday, and we all hit each other with pies. They brought a bunch of pies on stage, just like in the cartoons that everybody put a pie in everybody's face, messed up the guitars and other stuff, you know. But I don't. Nobody seemed to care. They just put pies everywhere. It was hitting everybody with pies. That part I do remember is like, really? Like in Soupy Sales, you know, hit you with the pie for real. So that was pretty interesting, you know.
I've just got the funniest image. Did anybody film this? Is it any?
Yes,
everything goes on YouTube. I want to see it.
It was on the cover in the New York Times. Yeah, so I got to get that picture. Because when I was young, I was too stupid to collect pictures, you know. So I got some pictures, you know. But I need more pictures, so I got to. And by the way, I get most of my pictures off of Facebook and Twitter. And I do. There's a picture of Stevie Wonder giving me a birthday cake. And it's my 18th birthday. And I only got it because somebody mailed me a picture on Facebook. You know, I didn't think that picture's in existence. And it's a really good shot, too. I mean, it's him holding me the cake. And so they were standing right there, and they shot us, you know. It's wonderful pictures. I got a picture of me singing Happy Birthday to Muhammad Ali on his 50th birthday with me holding his hand. That came through Facebook. I mean, these are pictures I thought didn't exist, you know. So there's a lot of good pictures that come out of it.
And people say that social media is bad. In some cases, it's good.
In some cases, it's good. It really is. You know, there's plenty of pictures sent to me that I didn't think existed. And someone says, I got a surprise for you, and I go, Oh, okay, I better answer back. You never know what it's going to be, you know.
Is that one that's private message to you?
Yeah. Some have ghosts on it. I don't ghost thing.
So Stevie Wonder gave you your 18th birthday cake. You've sang Happy Birthday to Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
What else have you done? I get the feeling that you've done
I've
like
done a lot of things.
Most exciting thing you've ever done.
You got to Google me, y'all, because done some.
I have done, but I didn't actually know the bit about Stevie Wonder.
Yeah.
That's awesome. My 18th birthday, it was just my mum and dad. Like,
Just your mom and dad? For me, what's exciting may not be exciting to you, but there was a movie in the 70s called Superfly where they had this big Cadillac, you know, with all the bug eyes and all that, you know. I'm from the ghetto of Detroit, Michigan, so, you know, it's kind of cool to lean over to the middle of the car and ride like that. So I'm in the studio with Marvin Gaye, and Marvin Gaye had a burgundy one like that. I mean, all tricked out like in the movies, you know. And so he was smoking a joint, smoking a weed, and he looked over at me, and I was 15, 16 years old, and he felt bad. So he wanted to get rid of me. So he gave me the keys to his Cadillac, you know. And he says, why don't you get lost for a few hours, you know. And I was like, holy crap, he's going to let me drive this car, you know. And I'm thinking, I don't have a driver's license, so if the police catch me, I'm finished, right? And I drove it to my high school. I didn't know where to go because I didn't know I was going to get the car. But I drove it to my high school, and I had my head right under the mirror, leaning over like this hard, you know. And then I saw my high school friends, and they wanted to get in. And I thought, they're going to mess this up for me. So I rolled the window up and wouldn't let them in, you know. I just kind of drove off and looked cool. And I mean, it was the best 2.5 hours of my life, you know, driving this car. And the police didn't even stop me. I'm a kid. I had no driver's license, you know. And they didn't ever stop me. Nothing happened. I just drove around the neighborhood and just rolled the window down, waved at my friends, and rolled it back up, you know. It was just a wonderful, wonderful moment in time, you know.
Just in case there's any kids in here or any adults who think that this could be a good idea, I would just like to say as a responsible mother that it's probably not a good idea to go and take somebody's car, even if they do give you the keys when you don't have a license and drive around. Yeah. I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Yeah. It's one of those things you shouldn't do.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say, yeah, I did it.
Yeah, but you're Ray Parker Jr.
That's true. It's like busting makes me feel good. I'm not saying you should bust, but I'm just saying, you know, I did. Don't do as Ray does. Do as Ray says.
So did you always know? Was music always in you? Like as a kid, did you?
No, I actually got into music at 6 years old, and I didn't like the Russian dances we were doing in kindergarten. They made us change partners with the girls, and I wasn't quite fond of girls just yet, you know. And so I went to the principal of the school and I said, I don't want to do that dance anymore. I don't want that class. And the principal said, well, you could take a music class. And I said, I don't know what that is, but I'll take it. You know. And then I went to the class, and the flutes were all gone because very cold in Detroit. It's like even colder than Edinburgh. And so I picked the clarinet. I wasn't going to pick the tuba, by the way. 6 years old, carry a big tuba home. So I picked the smallest thing I could find. And that was the clarinet. And then that evolved into the saxophone. And then that evolved into the guitar. I saw the Lovin' Spoonfuls on the Ed Sullivan Show playing the electric guitar, and I thought, wow, I want to plug in the electric guitar so I could drown out my friend that plays the drums. Yeah. The clarinet wasn't doing it, you know, so I needed to get louder. And so I wanted to play louder. I just switched to the guitar because I wanted to play louder, you know.
Loud is good.
Yeah, I think loud was good, you know.
But I'm a metalhead. I don't know if anybody else is into metal. I can't. What are your thoughts on bands like Slipknot?
Who?
Okay. They're loud.
Yeah.
They're good.
Some of the metal bands, I mean, I like some of it.
Okay, who's your all-time favorite singer?
All-time favorite singer, I would say, for me, would be Marvin Gaye.
Really?
I just liked the way his voice went. He just was a great singer.
Musician?
Musician would obviously be Stevie Wonder. He's the Beethoven of the 20th century, hands down, you know. Who else do I like? I like Barry White, by the way, because I did all his records. When you listen to Barry White, you're definitely listening to me playing the guitar for sure. I'm playing on all his records, and I wrote a song for him called "You See the Trouble with Me," which was #1 over here. You see the trouble with me? Okay.
There's a fan right there.
Okay. Now, I'm 18 years old when I did that song, so it's not like Ray was just born after Who You Gonna Call. See, that was way, I was in my, what do you call it, extreme late 20s.
Extremely late 20s,
yeah. When I wrote that song, you know. But I was actually in my 20s when I wrote that song. Can you believe that? I mean, it's like, I don't know where the time went by, but, you know, I was just a young kid at the time. I thought I was older, but I was young, 20s. I would like to get back there.
God, you achieved so much by such a young age in such a difficult industry to break into.
It doesn't seem like I've achieved much. I was just doing it. You know, now a lot of time has gone by that I've been doing it. That's what it seems like to me. So when somebody says, "Oh, you were here, here, and here," I was like, "Yeah, I guess I was in those places," you know. And it takes time to get there, but boy, it doesn't. I still feel like I was 18 or 20 not that long ago, you know.
Best way to feel.
They always say that an older person is trapped in the younger person's mind. You know, it's like, what happened? You know, how did I get here? It just seems like yesterday I was the kid. Now my son is my age. You know, it's like weird looking at him.
And you were saying that it's in the family.
Yeah. I have 4 sons. 2 of them are playing music. You know, and the youngest one, it just looks like he looks like me so much. When I was younger, it's like I thought it was a pea in a pod. They were going to replace me or something. You know. I mean, when he was born, I was like, uh-oh. This we don't need a test for. I mean, this is the one, you know. And I really thought, wow, I'm going to be replaced here, this kid, you know. It's interesting, you know.
Sorry, that's just tickled me. I just got images of my husband saying something like that when he was holding our daughter. Like, it looks a little bit like me, or that's not mine.
Yeah.
It is. Has anybody got any questions that they would like to ask Ray? If you start with yourself, I saw your hand first.
Marvin Gaye was wonderful. By the way, there's a lot of periods in life where you didn't hear his music for a while. And people didn't know it, but he was a football player, and he made the Detroit Lions, but they wanted him to sign a contract that said he couldn't sing for a while. He wouldn't do it. He was a heavyweight boxer, but then he bought a fight because he had money. He bought a fight. It was a little too early for him to get there and got his butt kicked, you know. But if Marvin Gaye's band, if you messed with his girlfriend, he'd knock you out. You know? So, but he was just a very interesting person in the studio as far as how he would develop his vocals. And he'd talk while we were playing, and he just played the piano. Then he'd say, okay, we're going to go to A, but it would never be in like 8 bars. It would be like 13 bars or 12 bars. It would just be some crazy time. And then he would put the song together later and make it make sense. And so to me, it never made sense while we were doing it, you know. So it's very interesting. Yeah.
What songwriting tips did you get from Stevie Wonder?
Well, first of all, Stevie Wonder taught me how to write songs, period. When he did Living for the City, I sat in the studio with him from the day he wrote it to the day he finished it, which wasn't but 3 days. You know? And so I was there when he recorded the whole thing. Then he took me in the studio to record some of my songs afterwards and showed me how to arrange it and do a bunch of different things. And I didn't finish college. I'm a college dropout because I went on tour, you know, with the Stevie Wonder and Rolling Stones. But after he showed me how to write songs, I wrote my first #1 record a year later with Shaka Khan and Rufus. So I must have learned something, you know.
How did it evolve from your original writing to when Stevie told you? Was that a complete 180 degrees turn? Or?
Oh, from what he showed me, when I got with Stevie, by the way, that's in my life when you say, you know, people say, where are the breaking points in your life where things really change? Meeting Stevie Wonder for me really changed because here's a guy who couldn't sing, who was working the console in the studio and writing songs and putting all these things together. And I'm sitting there saying, you know, I look better than him. And I can see, and I got to be able to do some of it. You know, I may not be as talented as him, but I got to do some of it, you know. So I just sat there, and every time he went to the studio, I went to the studio. You know, all my friends were out chasing girls, right? When you're 19, 18, you know, 19 years ago, and you got a night off, they're out at the club party and the rest of it. Well, I was in the studio with Stevie Wonder. And every time he moved, I was just sitting there looking at, okay, what is he doing now, you know? And so I learned an incredible lot of stuff in a short amount of time. So I take it that I graduated from Wonder University, let's say, instead of college. So I did get a formal education, I think.
Good university to go to. Any other questions?
You got to talk louder. My favorite achievement is Ghostbusters because it makes you happy. It is my favorite achievement, you know, and people always ask me, are you tired of people looking at you in a restaurant saying, who you going to call? And my answer is no. It's a wonderful thing. Also, I got a little lucky with that one, too. When I first wrote this song for the film, it was only 20 seconds of it. And it was only going to be over the library scene. And in the film business, what that means is nobody wanted this thing. Right, so the film company, everybody signed off on it. Let Ray have it. We don't want anything to do with that. It's not a song. And so my lawyer said, okay, well, Ray will keep everything. And then later, the director liked it and said, well, that should be a record or something. And it changed. But they had already given me everything. That doesn't mean much to you now, but you'll figure that out in 10. That was the biggest thing that ever happened in my life, is when they didn't want it. Sort of let me have it all.
Were they silly? It had like hit written all over it. It was the 80s. It was awesome. And
you guys think it had hit written all over it. I only wrote a minute and 10 seconds of it.
That's true.
And everybody was like, record companies like, we don't put, no. It's not going to be a record. It's not going to be anything. It's just going over the library scene. Remember the library scene when they first knocked the books over? It was only for the library scene. And that's what they hired me to do, and everybody signed off. If it does anything except the library scene, let Ray have it. We don't want anything to do with it. You know? We just need the library scene, and that's it. You know. Then the director liked it and said, can we make it a bit longer? You know, it's like, but you guys told me just to make 90 seconds of it, or, you know, a minute of it. So I had to go make the tape longer, and that's a whole nother story. But we made the same thing longer, you know. But it's really only a minute of music. It's stretched. The same minute is looped over and over and over and changed the words a little bit.
Still awesome. Any more questions? This chap over here?
Well, you know, the main part of the video that I'm going to say I started off. The record company, Clive Davis, was scared of me singing a record to a ghost. He's like, we've been nurturing your career for years. You're the ladies guy. You sing to girls. You sing romantic songs. A woman needs love like you do. You know, all my songs are romantic songs. And so I came up with the concept, well, I guess if you use the Saturday Night Live guys and put everybody in the video with me, we can make it a joke, and people won't think I'm really singing to a ghost. You know, so everybody's concerned about that. And then Ivan Reitman, the director, got involved and said, well, I'm going to direct the video, and we'll just put 1 million people in it. So it just turned into what it turned into. You know, it got really out of control. In fact, Ivan said, you know, this is the first and last video I'll ever do. And he hasn't done one since, you know. And then the idea of, you know, they flew me to New York. I didn't know what to expect. But they said, the other guys are going to be there. I said, oh, that's great. The movie's coming out. I wrote the song. I ain't met nobody yet. You know, I ain't met none of the Ghostbusters. So the first time I met the Ghostbusters guys were actually in New York when we were doing that dance in Times Square. I don't know why they decided to block off Times Square Friday at 1 in the afternoon. I mean, it's the most expensive time. I said, wow, these guys are serious. Look how much money they got. They closed New York City and Times Square in the middle of the day, right in the, you know, the most busy part of the day. And so, yeah, they made it happen, and it just took off, that video. Really did something different, you know.
Any more questions? Lady, just say. Who's your favorite character?
Did I play a character in Ghost? Who's your favorite character? Oh, who's my favorite character? I can't answer that. It's like running for president. I know those guys. I have to live with those guys. Come on. My favorite character in Ghostbusters is Ray Parker Jr., but they haven't cast me as a role yet, you know. And every time they make a new Ghostbusters, I got something to say about that, you know. And I wish they hurry up while I'm still kind of, you know, looking good, you know. Otherwise, I'm going to be the ghost in one of the movies if they don't hurry up.
Is Slimy your favorite, maybe?
I like Slimer. Yeah, I can identify with that. Nobody's going to get mad at me for liking Slimer.
And there's a question just up here.
A collector of guitars? You know what? I like to think that I'm not a collector of guitars, but I now have about 150 guitars. Go figure. This problem, I think, first came 20-something years ago, I got married to this beautiful woman, and she told me I could no longer have more than one woman, And I thought, really? I didn't know that happens when you get married, But anyway, I went along with it, but I told her I got to now get more guitars, right? See, she's not like that. If I have more guitars, then I'll just stick to the one woman. She says, okay, well, you get all the guitars you like. So I get my jollies off by buying new guitars when I see something I really like, or sometimes they give me a guitar, but I do have a lot of guitars now. My favorite guitar is, I got a couple of favorites. There's one that George Benson gave me, one of his GB20s, and he signed it for me. Stevie Wonder gave me a guitar, which we were talking about back then when I was 18 years old. So I got that one hanging on the wall. And then there's the Japanese built me a red guitar. They only made 2 of them. And that's the one I'm playing Ghostbusters and the other woman with. And there's only 2 of them in the world, so I don't want either one to go outside, And so that's hanging up there. There's a couple of favorites I have,
Did that help you in your quest to collect guitars?
His wife is sitting there like, oh, gosh. Did he say that?
If it keeps him happy, my husband is all about FIFA, so just let him play, and it keeps him quiet.
Yes. That's what I told my wife. Guitar. What's wrong with 10 guitars? You can't have 10 wives, 10 guitars. Well, I don't know. You guys in Scotland had those castles back in the day, right? So there's other things happening there, I know what happens in a castle on the other side. I know why those castles are big. It ain't for the ghosts. I ain't afraid of no ghosts.
Any more questions?
Yeah, they're doing a documentary on me. Now, this is when you really get old, okay? Things have happened. So many things have happened. The film director comes up to me and says, "Mister, we're going to do a documentary." I'm like, "What are you going to say?" But, so he liked my past. Growing up in Detroit, I got beat up. I'm from the racial riots era where I got beat up by the police. And there's a whole lot to my history starting off, that he thought was really interesting to bring it to the world and share that light. And it's a happy movie. It's more about how do you come from the inner city of Detroit and then move on. So it's actually a pretty good story. It's going to have some feel-good moments in it. And obviously, there'll be a lot of Ghostbusters in it. Ernie's in it. I think Ivan Reitman's already in it. And we got Dan Aykroyd next week or so coming in. And so we got all of the guys and a bunch of people in it. A lot of people you're going to like in it.
I've got a question. So a big movie is being made, like a fictional, but it is about you movie. Who plays you?
It's not fictional.
No. They're making one. Let's say.
Oh, making one.
Yeah. Like a huge director says, "I'm going to make a film about your life."
Well, they better
Who
get
play you?
My son would have to play me. There's a son. I have a son, Jericho. He's 18. He sings wonderfully, writes songs, plays instruments, and he looks just like I used to look, Or I think I look like he looks, but I remember looking like that, And he's ripped. But he's taller than me. He's 6'6", wow. So he's a little taller than me. But the girls like him, He thinks he looks better than I did at the time. I think, I told him, where does he think he got the good looks from? Who you gonna call? But all of my kids, I mean, it's an amazing thing. I don't know if any of you have kids, but kids are interesting because they grow up, they spend your money, right? They're playing my guitars, and they think they're better than their dad. How is this possible? I created this. What are you talking about? But to actually give you that look like, come on, Dad, you weren't hot like this when you were 22. I'm looking like, really? Is that what you think? They said, well, look at that afro you had. I said, that's just the style. Your style's going to look funny, too, when you get older and look back on it. But they actually give you that look like you weren't happening and like they are or something, I'm like, I just look back at them. It's interesting,
I've got all this to come, haven't I?
Yeah, you got all this coming up for you.
We've got time for one more question, if anybody.
Well, it's a good crowd. I'll answer questions. Okay, go ahead.
I wish we could keep you.
The cast of Ghostbusters like? Well, I now know them much better because I spent time with the guys. But when we did the song, I only saw them for maybe 15 minutes. That scene outside of Times Square, so I didn't have any opinion of them at all. And they looked at me pretty strange too, like, Who's the dude in the front? You know. So, and it was Bill Murray who, by the way, decided, well, shouldn't we break dance or do something? So he got down on the ground, and then I started spinning him around. That was very unplanned, by the way. By the way, the whole dance was unplanned. I forgot who came up with the dance, but somebody said, well, we need a spooky dance, you know, so he started doing that. And everybody started doing it, and Ivan was filming it. And next thing I know, Bill Murray got down on the ground and said, spin me around, you know. So he's trying to break dance, a little older to do it, but at the time, you know, so he's break dancing. I'm spinning him around, and that's how it happened, you know.
Go on, we've got time for one more quick one if anybody's got one. At the back here?
Somebody was crying, which is talk louder. From filming a video? Yeah, I got all of it. I got the original outfit that I can't get into anymore. I got, you know, no, I got that stuff at home. Yeah. I don't know if I was smart enough to keep it. I think it's just in the closet and I haven't thrown anything away yet. But I got a lot of the original stuff. And, you know, I go to schools and we give a lot of things away to charity too. So the Ghost Corp, they're pretty good at giving me stuff. And if I can't find anything, I'll go on eBay and buy it, you know. So you'll be surprised what you can find on eBay. I can find all the old Ghostbuster stuff, order it, then I sign it and give it to the school, and you know, it turns into something. So it's a nice thing, yeah.
Oh, he got a big just for the end. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish that I could talk to him longer, but
thank you.
Give a massive cheer. Come on. Yeah. Ray Parker Jr., everyone.